September 28 through 29, 2019, a series of global anti-totalitarianism rallies were held across the world, in 24 countries and 65 cities. A number of Christians persecuted by the CCP who have fled China also made their voices heard. This event was launched by Citizens Press Conference. Yesterday it was Xinjiang and Tibet. Today it is Hong Kong and Taiwan. Tomorrow it will be the free world, said delegates of Hong Kong protesters at a press conference on September 25th, urging people around the world to fight against the CCP totalitarian regime with the Hongkongers. Otherwise, though its attack is only on Hong Kong today, in the end, no one will be spared. The afternoon of September 28, a group called in solidarity with Hong Kong held a demonstration at the Place Saint-Michel in France. It was attended by representatives from Europe Solidaire Sans Frontières, Federation of Asian Countries for Human Rights, and Association for the Defense of Human Rights and Religious Freedom, and Christians from the Church of Almighty God, CAG. They reiterated appeals to fight against tyranny and strive for democracy, and called on the European Union to grant asylum to Hong Kongers seeking to leave Hong Kong. One organizer said in her speech,
Il n'y a pas de frontières quand on parle de liberté. Notre humanité nous appelle à participer à cette lutte. Où que l'on soit, nous sommes tous conciliables. Pour nous, le retrait du projet de loi d'extradition n'est pas une fin, mais un commencement. Si le gouvernement ne se fait pas le défenseur des droits des citoyens, c'est un État voyou.
When interviewed, André Gattolin, member of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, said that Hong Kong citizens are only asking for the CCP to adhere to the One Country, Two Systems treaty that it signed, but the CCP wants to violate its terms to uphold communism and its authoritarian regime. Julia Kernalba, head of China Coordination Group, Amnesty International France, denounced the CCP's attacks on human rights in Hong Kong ever since 2014 and expressed particular concern over its excessive use of violence against peaceful anti-extradition protesters. One CAG Christian in France said in his speech,
La liberté, démocratie et les droits de l'homme sont des valeurs universelles. Mais cependant, le PCC méprise les droits de l'homme et piétine la démocratie et la liberté. Et ce qui a conduit au chaos et à la situation dangereuse de Hong Kong aujourd'hui. Le PCC est un pouvoir dictatorial et méchant et qui a commis les crimes les plus atroces. Il est ainsi la source désastreuse et méchanceté. Et des ténèbres dans ce monde. Maintenant, la protestation de Hong Kong n'est pas encore finie. Et la voie dans le futur sera forcément plus difficile. Nous tenons fermement à côté de Hong Kong et nous soutenons le peuple de Hong Kong à lutter pour la démocratie et la liberté, et à protester contre le gouvernement dictatorial du PCC ensemble.
As the event was wrapping up, everyone there joined hands and called out chants such as "Fight for freedom" and "Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times." On the afternoon of September 28 in Dam Square, Amsterdam, a group called Netherlands for Hong Kong held a gathering called Democracy for Hong Kong. Netherlands stands with Hong Kong to memorialize 5th anniversary of Hong Kong's umbrella movement and support the Global Anti-Totalitarianism Rallies. About 300 people attended. Mr. Stijn Deckler, a representative from Amnesty International Netherlands, said that the Hong Kong government should adhere to its basic law as well as international laws. It should respect and protect the demonstrators' human rights. He also called on members of parliament to base their September 30 discussion of new Netherlands-China policies on the premise of ensuring human rights. Hong Kong citizens at the rally said that the CCP controls Hong Kong's government and has destroyed the freedom they once had. The CCP has been purposely misleading the public since June, continuing to call demonstrators rioters. Police violence and lynching have become commonplace. They called on countries around the world to not aid and abet the totalitarian government. A Christian from the Church of Almighty God in the Netherlands, also expressed that the CCP has had a bloody 70 years in power, and that its despotism has led to the unnatural deaths of at least 1 or 200 million Chinese people. It's clear to see from the current situation in Hong Kong that wherever the CCP's evil hand reaches, terror and disaster will follow. She called on more people to stand up, not be afraid of the powers that be, stop being silent, and unite in support of Hong Kong. In Sydney, Australia, on September 29, in response to the 9/29 Taiwan-Hong Kong Grand Parade, Support Hong Kong, Fight Against Totalitarianism event, over 1,000 supporters of democracy in Hong Kong held a march. Representatives from Federation for a Democratic China and the International Youth Movement for Human Rights also joined, as well as CAG Christians and Uyghur people, etc. Together, they called for support for Hong Kong and opposition to CCP totalitarianism. In a speech, the organizer emphasized that totalitarian regimes have no respect for international order, and not only failed to keep their promises to other countries, but also to their own people. This is why the Hong Kong people have taken to the streets to oppose the oppressive totalitarian rule.
It is only after 3 months that the bill was formally withdrawn. Only one of the 5 demands. We will fight until all 5 of the demands are met, not one less. We will not be divided and we will not compromise. We will fight at the forefront of a battle against tyranny and totalitarianism, against fear itself, to show solidarity and be a beacon of hope to our freedom-loving brothers and sisters in mainland China, in Xinjiang, around the world, that we stand with them, that freedom never dies.
Australia has a lot of things in common with Hong Kong as a society, and I think it's important that we stand up for people who are trying to defend their civil rights, religious freedom, freedom of speech, and democracy.
A retired Hong Konger angrily told a reporter that the CCP has been manipulating the Hong Kong government behind the scenes, and that makes the CCP their greatest enemy. There is no freedom or rule of law in China, and all media is under state control. The CCP tears down crosses, mosques, and has even edited the Bible and the 10 Commandments. Things like that would never happen in a country with freedom of religion. As it's said, people's eyes are sharp. A CAG Christian was interviewed by the Daily Telegraph, and she said,
because in China, we don't have belief freedom, and we also suffer the persecution in China. Many of our Christians, we are forced to leave our homes. That's why we stand here, so we can understand the Hong Kong people. And we also call for more people to stand together to fight for our human rights.
At the Melbourne event, organizer Mr. Zhang said that many Hong Kongers have been disappeared and been suicided due to CCP's persecution. But the police cover up the truth and shirk responsibility. He also spoke on the CCP's persecution of Xinjiang people and Falun Gong practitioners, and its oppression of many churches, such as its many violent acts against the Church of Almighty God. In Toronto, Canada, in the afternoon of September 29, over 1,000 people gathered at Roundhouse Park for a Stand with Hong Kong Anti-Totalitarianism, Fight Against Tyranny march. Members of the Association Against Religious Persecution and the Church of Almighty God joined the march.
We know this uphill battle against totalitarianism is lengthy, and every bit of support is vital. We urge all Canadians to join us to stand up against totalitarianism and oppression. For Canada, for Hong Kong, for the world.
That the evil force of the CCP, which resists God, is the biggest enemy of the democratic free world and the biggest threat to the world peace.
After 2 p.m., the gathered crowd sang Glory to Hong Kong as they began the march. The march stretched for several kilometers, and as they went, more and more passers-by spontaneously joined. They regathered once they had reached Nathan Phillips Square. There, a handful of pro-CCP young people stood on the municipal building's second-floor balcony and unfurled a Chinese flag in an attempt to disrupt the event. But some Hong Kongers opened up a Liberate Hong Kong, the Revolution of Our Times banner on the balcony as well. Shortly after, the pro-CCP youths were persuaded to leave by the police. That same day in Tokyo and Osaka, a march was held by a number of Hong Kongers, local Japanese people and democracy advocates, as well as members of the Association on Study of Religion and Human Rights and CAG Christians. In a speech, organizer Seiya Hukagawa said, "The Hong Kongers here in Tokyo will certainly continue to speak out for Hong Kong until the Hong Kong government responds to its people's demands." Participants also gave origami cranes to the hosts that had "Your courage moves me deeply," "Hong Kong add oil," and "We support your fight for freedom" written on them. These cranes will be sent to Hong Kong to encourage and support the people to continue their fight and to safeguard democracy and human rights. In Osaka, a number of participants sent messages for Hong Kong's Lenin Wall, all full of good wishes and support for Hong Kong. Reported by Eastern Light reporter Lin Shi.